They say you can have it good, fast, or cheap. And you gotta pick two. Sutherland writes in chapter 3.5, you could have efficiency, logic, or meaning. You gotta pick two. I suppose that means if you have something and you're trying to communicate in a way that's efficient and meaningful, it needs to be illogical. And he does go into quite some depth because have you ever heard the phrase, truth is stranger than fiction? There's a guy who, St. Augustine said, I believe it because it's ridiculous. And that makes something, the message essentially is this, that you can communicate something efficiently and meaningfully, but it has to be so absurd that it's a deviation from what we regularly understand or perceive. It's like water. Human beings have been designed, essentially, we've evolved to have the sensation that water tastes like nothing. And the reason that works evolutionarily is that if water tasted like anything else, we would be signaled that it has somehow been tarnished or poisoned. For example, if you're drinking water and it tastes rancid, that might be because a dead animal is upstream. It's the deviations from that which is normal, which signals to us that there is some form of a meaning. Let's explore the other ones. It can be efficient and logical, but it will not have meaning. Sutherland creates this image of an invitation to a wedding. You can have the invitation to said wedding, and it could just be an email that says, hey, we're getting married at this day. Right? It's efficient, it's logical, it's clear, but it doesn't have the emotional gravitas that is needed in order to convey the importance of the wedding. It becomes one item of many items that gets lost in the banality of life because it's something so simple. It's efficient and it's logical, but it's not meaningful. Lastly, it can be logical and meaningful, but it's not efficient. Now, this one stands out to me particularly because this is what we're doing with our next phase of our outreach campaign. Is we're moving from it's awareness to engagement, engagement to traffic to retargeting, conversion. And as we're getting into this conversion phase, we're going to take a break away from this efficient model that we've been doing. Now, running meta ads is outrageously efficient. It's the fastest way to get a message in front of mass groups of people. The second most efficient would be email marketing, messaging, then phone calls, and lastly, not lastly, the next thing would be going to go to people and reaching out to them specifically, and then finally going to in-person communication. Now, by and large, we don't do the door-to-door sales like we used to. Door-to-door sales is by far the least efficient. However, it is the most compelling because it signifies that someone has gone out to discuss with you about how we're going to move forward with a sale. Second to that is the marketing packages where you send things out, which is what we're going to be doing as we move into our conversion campaign. So we are going to be able to communicate the meaning that we offer and do it in a clear and logical way. However, it's going to be wildly inefficient, and we're going to have to get ahead of this by taking many steps in advance to make sure that we can do that. The next part that we do is 3.6. I'm looking in the book, which is creativity as costly signaling. In this one, he goes into that example that we discussed earlier with the wedding vows. Now, anybody can order some very nice stationery, put the right print on it, and send it out. That's cool, that's fine. It will end up on someone's refrigerator, but it doesn't signal the same amount of care as something that is funny or something that is creative. Now, putting the effort into making something that is witty makes it stand out. By making it stand out, you are then attaching that mental availability to it so that it can recur over time. And that communicates a greater value for your people or for your marketing. Or you could do something that's risque. put a risky joke out there, something that is borderline inappropriate to full-on inappropriate. What you're conveying in that is that you are courageous enough to say the risque thing. And in saying the risque thing, showing your courage, you are then communicating inherent value to your audience. That being that you are courageous. Now, as he said in the book, if you had to choose between being logical or being creative, let's just take that back to a evolutionary standpoint with our favorite thing, sexual selection. Now I'll ask you a question honestly. What is sexier to you? What do you perceive to be sexier? The fireman or the accountant? The accountant, all respect to accountants that keep me out of jail, but they're line by line, very routine. They don't have the opportunities for risk and harm that is associated with being an accountant. Conversely, the fireman may not be the most intelligent dude of the two, right? He probably doesn't have the degrees or the certifications, but he's willing to throw himself into a burning building for the behest of others. Now, I'm not saying one's better than the other. Everybody has their role. I love my accountants. But when's the last time you saw an accountant calendar? No one dresses up for a bachelorette party as an accountant. Just saying. So when you think about how you're marketing your products, be aware of how those things are perceived evolutionarily, because that will get the attention of the people and drive people back to you. We value courage. We value creativity. We value that which is new. Therefore, integrate those things into your marketing. That way you can make the most of it. That is chapters 3.5, 3.6. And the next one we're going to do 3.7, 3.8. Until then, I'm Colin Charles. This is Enoch Marketing, and we will catch you next time.